Hello and welcome back to my channel Stepping Stone. Today we have a new unit called My Parents Kept Me from Children Who Were Rough by Stephen Spander. About the poet Stephen Spander, 1909 to 1995, wrote many volumes of poetry. Most of his poems were short lyrics. He wrote poems about the war and also about the political ideas. This poem is one of many in which he looks at the individual and particularly at the suffering of a small boy. Stephen Splendor is known for his work as a poet who stresses on the harsh differences in the social classes in the society. He speaks to the segregation that comes when people indulge in social disparity. The poet lends his voice to the concern about economic segregation in the society. About the poem. The title of the poem suggests that the poem is filled with stories about parents or about the activities regarding a parents. Spender casts a different web as the poem is really about bullying and one's desire or dream to make friends. Throughout the poem, Spender talks about these bullies that he faces daily and the way he feels about his experiences with the bullies. So now let's start with the first stanza. My parents kept me from children who were rough and who threw words like stones and who wore torn clothes. Their tides showed through rags. They ran in the street and climbed cliffs and stripped by the country streams. The first stanza begins with the emphasis that Spender's parents restricted his movement and kept him away from children like his age, fearing that they will mock him due to his disabilities. Their protective nature was justified as the children were rough, both in appearance and in attitude. The rough street children are not well off economically as they wore torn clothes and their tights can be seen. They were free to run in the street and dress as they wish. Stanza 2. I fear more than tigers, their muscles like iron, and their jerking hands and their knees tied on my arms. I feared the salt course pointing of those boys who copied my lisp behind me on the road. In the second stanza, the poet feared that the brute strength of the boys who had muscles like iron. They were physically fit compared to the poet. Thus, they took advantage of the situation by bullying the poet physically. Their knees tied on my arms makes it painfully, and it is clear that the rough street children picked on the poet because he was different, consoling themselves that they were some superior. The poet also feared that because of the constant teasing by the other boys, their salt course pointing is a clear indication of their rejection, as they also made fun of the poet's speech. It means lips behind his back. Stanza 3. They were lit. They sprang out behind hedges, like dogs to bark at our whirl. They threw mud, and I looked another way, pretending to smile. I longed to forgive them, yet they never smiled. In the third stanza, the poet further illustrates his envy for the rough street children, as they were lit which could never become due to his parents' restriction and the fact that his parents' protective nature prevented him from partaking in any of their activities. However, the poet seems to be in a state of two minds, as he identifies with his parents by degrading the rough children as dogs to bark, bark out at our work. This highlights the inevitable gap between individuals of different social classes. The last two lines has much pathos as the poet tries to smile and had desire to forgive them for the manner in which they had treated him, but they never gave him a chance. So, children, this was a short poem which is basically related with the poet when he was a child. Maybe the poet is trying to say that his parents kept or forced him to stay away from those poor children. So that's all for today and see you in the next video. Thank you.